Come in contact with Congressman Ross.
Yep.
Tell me about that, the whole process.
It came because of Channel 8, Tampa WFLA, Steve Andrews. He came to my home at the invitation of a U.S. Marine that was stationed on the USS Proteus. His name was Brian Moyer. And he invited Steve Andrews to my home at Lakeland. And he wanted Steve Andrews to know about me and what I did. And so they did 4 segments about me down there. And I was on their news for 2 months, every day for 2 months down there.
What year would this have been, please?
2016. In fact, when you look them up, you'll probably see those segments.
A Target 8 investigation.
Tonight, chemical cover-up. He claims he sprayed Agent Orange on an airbase in Guam, exposing American veterans and their families to toxic chemicals. The military contends it didn't happen. A Lakeland veteran is sick and dying. He suffers from multiple cancers and autoimmune diseases.
Yeah, he contends it is from spraying that Agent Orange while he was stationed at an airbase in Guam. And he has some unfinished business, too. He told Target 8 senior investigative reporter Steve Andrews that he wants the truth to come out. Finally, the truth.
Former Master Sergeant Leroy Foster claims that he personally sprayed hundreds of thousands of gallons of Agent Orange at Andersen Air Force Base in Guam. The Department of Defense insists that did not happen. Who do you believe? In the 60s and 70s, Andersen Air Force Base housed, fueled, and armed B-52 bombers for missions over Vietnam.
Yeah.
Leroy Foster's assignment at Andersen, vegetation control.
I'm the guy that was spraying it everywhere.
According to Leroy, he sprayed Agent Orange along the flight line, sidewalks, fences, fuel tank farms, and barracks.
I was spraying 2 and 3 trailerfuls a day.
He thought nothing of it.
They told me that I could brush my teeth and it wouldn't hurt anybody.
Now he knows Agent Orange is linked to several cancers, heart disease, diabetes, and more.
I've got 33 diseases. I had 28 until all the cancers started popping up.
Agent Orange also causes deformities. His own grandchild was born with 24 fingers and toes. The Department of Defense insists it did not use Agent Orange outside of Vietnam. Target 8 found this 2004 report to investors of Dow Chemical, the Agent Orange manufacturer, contradicts government claims. It says soldiers stationed on Guam who handled Agent Orange had become ill, and symptoms of TCDD, dioxins, are apparent in the general population of the island as well.
I was spraying the most deadliest substance on earth, and I am responsible for it.
Agent Orange has sickened and killed countless servicemen and their dependents who lived on base.
Terrible guilt, because all these children I've hurt, and all the unborn children that died that didn't have a chance to live.
The message Leroy Foster wants to convey to the government: just tell the truth.
Our veterans, they gave their lives to our country. They don't deserve to be lied to. If you don't want to pay for compensation, don't. But don't lie to us. Did we lie to you?
According to that report to Dow Chemical investors, Agent Orange contamination at Andersen Air Force Base in Guam was measured at an extraordinarily high level. Now, in laboratory animals, this stuff not only impacts offspring, but the next generation as well. It's pretty nasty stuff.
Well, he's in a difficult spot. I mean, he's got 5 different cancers. He's in a wheelchair, and yeah, you got the VA looking at him. And what do they say? What do they attribute these illnesses and difficulties?
You know, at first, the code it used attributed his illness to Agent Orange, but that was changed because the government insists it didn't use Agent Orange in Guam. So I've got a lot of reports that are coming in that I'm going to be looking over, and I got a lot of Guam veterans who have a lot to say about this, so we'll be exploring this a little bit more.
Chemical cover-up. Members of Congress want answers from the military following what they call a deeply disturbing Target 8 report. Today, a story about a Lakeland veteran spraying hundreds of thousands of gallons of Agent Orange on a U.S. airbase continues making waves.
Yeah, that Target 8 report aired actually last week. But today, Florida Congressman Dennis Ross joined a congresswoman from Guam in stating that they're very concerned about the impact on veterans and their families. And citing a story by senior investigator Steve Andrews, they decided they would go to the Air Force and demand some answers. And they want these answers fairly quickly, Steve.
Yeah, they do. They want them next week. Both Congressman Ross and, Madeline Barrero of Guam are incredibly concerned. And they should be, following a personal, powerful, pointed report about the effects of Agent Orange. It made headlines in the Pacific Daily News, the Guam Daily Post, Radio New Zealand, Radio Australia. A Lakeland veteran admits that in the 60s and 70s, he exposed Air Force personnel, their families, and civilians on Guam to Agent Orange.
Nobody told them what was going to happen, and it destroyed families.
One day after Target 8's report, in which Master Sergeant Leroy Foster expressed extreme remorse for spraying the defoliant at Anderson Air Force Base, Congresswoman Madeline Barrero of Guam conveyed concerns in a letter to the Air Force. She wrote, "I'm deeply disturbed with the recent claims that Agent Orange was actively used at Anderson Air Force Base. She wants any reports of any use of the chemical on island." Anderson loaded B-52s for missions over Vietnam. The Department of Defense has denied using the herbicide on Guam. Leroy Foster calls that a lie.
I don't deserve to be lied to. I don't. And the people that I exposed to it, they don't deserve to be lied to.
Foster claims he sprayed Agent Orange on Anderson's flight lines, sidewalks, around barracks and fences.
Everywhere.
He claims military personnel, their families, and civilians were all exposed.
Thousands.
Last year, a study of Guam by the Hawaii Journal of Medicine and Public Health found infants born to mothers who lived in Agent Orange sprayed areas were at an increased risk of infant mortality due to congenital anomalies. Foster's own granddaughter was born with 24 fingers and toes. He suffers from 5 cancers. Congresswoman Barrero wants answers. Leroy Foster wants the truth to come out.
Don't lie to me anymore. Don't lie to the American people. They don't deserve it.
Congressman Ross wrote a letter to the chair of the House Armed Services Committee today. He asked if the committee is investigating the use of Agent Orange on military installations in Guam. If not, he's requesting a vigorous oversight investigation.
And that is not the only letter that he sent out as well, right?
No, again, citing our report, he sent one to the Secretary of the Air Force requesting more information by next week about the use of Agent Orange at Anderson Air Force Base. And it's not confined to Guam.
Now exposed to Agent Orange, a former Marine worries that his own life is at risk.
Yeah, the military actually denies using Agent Orange on Guam, where this particular Marine was stationed. But Target 8 showed us evidence it did. Our senior investigator, Stephen Andrews, is joining us now, and he's actually convinced a congressman to get involved in here to get to the bottom of what appears to be a big cover-up.
Yeah, it sure is. After our report, Congressman Dennis Ross called for a meeting with the Air Force and an investigation of this issue. Ross told me next week he will introduce a bill that provides veterans who served in Guam the same Agent Orange benefits as those who served in Vietnam. Brian Moyer was a Marine assigned to the U.S. Naval Station on Guam in 1974. His job? Guard nuclear weapons and a nuclear submarine. He also attended firefighting school at Anderson Air Force Base.
I found out that was possibly one of the most contaminated spots on the planet.
Last week, Target 8 revealed Sergeant Leroy Foster admitted spraying toxic Agent Orange over a period of 10 years in Anderson. The herbicide causes several cancers, diseases, and nerve disorders.
I'm laying in bed, and all of a sudden, 2 o'clock in the morning, both my arms go numb.
Brian heard of Agent Orange, but back then had no clue how deadly it is.
They knew. They knew.
The government did know. This 1967 report obtained by Target 8 is by the RAND Corporation. It was given to the Assistant Secretary of Defense and states about Agent Orange, one ingredient, 2,4-D, is rated as very toxic. I shared this information with Florida Congressman Dennis Ross. The government was very aware of the toxicity levels of Agent Orange. Why the cover-up? Why the denial?
I don't know, but we want to get to the bottom of this.
The military denies using Agent Orange on Guam, so veterans and their families are denied expanded VA benefits that those who served in Vietnam receive. Congressman, what do you expect to hear from the Air Force next week, and why would you think they'd tell you the truth?
Well, we've got some evidence here.
Brian Moyer thinks sick and dying veterans is enough evidence.
Where the hell's our damn compassionate government?
And if we can pay for all of these things around all of the world, why can't we afford to take care of our veterans?
I couldn't agree more, Steve. I mean, for gosh sakes, let's not let the Vietnam generation be the forgotten generation. They are the sons and daughters of the greatest generation. We owe it to them.
Another member of Congress is demanding answers from the Air Force, and today the Guam legislature is forming a task force to investigate Agent Orange use on that island.
And this started when you listened to that Lakeland veteran.
Yep. He admitted spraying hundreds of thousands of gallons, and it got the attention of Congressman Ross, and it also got the attention of most of the Pacific Basin out there.
Yeah, they're reporting in Guam all about this. All right, thank you, Steve.
Sure.
He did this story, and it ended up, widening, and more veterans came out, made Congressman Ross embarrassed that this has been going on for so long. And he called me right from his halls of Congress. He called me at my house here in Florida, and he told me he was going to do something about it, and that he was going to name a bill after me. And he did, H.R. 809. And so they have it in Congress. I think there's 9 co-sponsors now. And that's to help, it's not just Guam, it's to help the American Samoa. And they brought out facts I wasn't even aware of. American Samoa, Guam, Northern Mariana Islands, and the territorial seas, eastern region of the theater of operations of the Vietnam War, were all had exposure to Agent Orange, that they didn't even know it. But I didn't know it. They know that there's a 450% chance of them developing cancer in their lifetime. Anybody that was in that area. I wasn't aware of that. And they knew it, but they kept it hidden from everybody. I don't have resentment. I know they were trying to win a war. And they needed that vegetation killed. I mean, to defend the base. We had Russian trawlers going around the island all the time. You don't know what they would try to do, or if they had, frogmen or special forces try to come in and blow stuff up. We had Japanese soldiers come out in '73 with their rifles over their head. I want to die with the truth to be known. That's what I want. That's what I was hoping the Robert H. Jackson Center be known to bring this truth and justice to so many Americans, that so many future generations that have no idea what's going to happen to them. They're going to wonder, why is my baby born this way? Why is this happening to my baby? Why, they aren't going to have the answers. With the military, my whole entire life, 38 years, I've had things happen to me in there that a lot of people probably wouldn't want to see happen to their children when they go serve our country if they're drafted, which that could happen. The draft is being mentioned to come back for the next war. It could be a Korean war, it could be a Chinese war, it could be an Iranian war, it could be a world war. My message is to record everything the best way you can. Have witnesses. Try to keep the truth about your military service, about what you did in the service, and because I don't know if you guys have seen it, but a lot of military members, their records disappear. I've helped deputy sheriffs right here in Chautauqua County that were prior military service members, that the government, because they were on classified missions, the government wouldn't stand behind them. The government wouldn't help them when it came to the VA and their health issues that were caused by their military service. They don't have anybody to go to. And I think our community has a responsibility to this veterans that served when they aren't being supported properly. I think, you know what? If every community, every county stood up and got behind our veterans, and when they're where there's injustice, then a united voice can stop it. That's my message. When there is injustice, stop it with the truth. And when people get together and they are banded together for that, they can stop this, what's happened, and to prevent it from happening again.
Well, we salute you.
Yes, sir. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yep.